for the follow. Thank you so much. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm actually going to do a live casting. So guys, if you get thanks thanks Buckin. If you guys like the way I stream or like the way I'm commentating, please write it in the chat below, or even write something that I can do to improve, because I really always wanted to go into commentating, and I want to share my understanding of Go with everyone here. So if you guys can. But I'm going to start recording for the YouTube channel. So I'm going to do a little intro first just to give you guys an FYI. So anyways, so this is what I generally do. So hello everyone, welcome to our next match from Danielml01. He's a 2Q player on OGS right now, but currently he's holding a professional 3 Dan level on Fox. He just got that rank up, so congrats to him. And today he's the Blackstones on this game. His opponent is some opponent from Korea who is a level of 1 Dan. And just to let you guys know who are brand new to the game, the ranking system goes from 30Q all the way up to 1Q, which is beginner, up to proficient or amateur status, and then from a Dan level all the way up to a 9 Dan level. And so just to give you guys just a baseline of where these players are, Daniel and this Korean player is by far a super advanced. They've been playing it for decades probably. And so this is a game that I actually am looking really forward to. And so right now what we have is a general opening. Daniel and the Korean player is going to be taking the corner sides right here. Now remember, with the corner sides, the reason why we start there first is because it allows us to have the best possible chance of gaining some territory at the early stages of the game. And the main purpose of the game is to be able to expand a different base, so grab an expansion and then spread out and gain influence on the overall match. And so the more territories you have and the more pieces you capture by the end of the game will be determining the winner. And so right here, since we have the Korean player playing in white right now, what we can see is that the Korean player is going to try to take this top left-hand corner as well as this bottom left-hand position. And the reason why I can see that somewhat right now at these early stages of the game is because of the placements of these stones. Now, just remember, the farther the stones are, the easier it is for your opponents to come in and cut the stones out. And so we want to pay attention to that. And so right now, Daniel is like, I see what you're doing. I see that this top corner right here is going to extend out. I see that you are building some strength. So you know what? I'm going to bug you right now. I'm going to try to shrink that territory so that you are no longer going to be having this whole entire left side of the board, right? Because originally the Korean player did play at these initial 2 starting points. And so if Daniel left that unchecked, the whole entire left side of the board will become the Koreans' territory. And that's not necessarily a good thing, because generally, if you are playing on a Japanese rule, generally the white stones or the person who goes second will have a 6.5 additional advantage. I believe right now they're playing a Chinese style or a Chinese rule. Again, if you guys are more experienced, please write it in the chat below or comment below in the YouTube video. But I believe this is a Chinese rule where they're pretty much playing on even playing field. So that means no side is going to get 6 additional points. And you can tell right here by looking at their name in the upper right hand corner of the screen. So if you see right here, the Korean player only has a positive 0.5 point advantage. That is just to pretty much break the tiebreaker. So hence why we're doing that. But as we're playing along with the game right here, we can see that Daniel is actually covering the bottom left-hand corner. He's like telling the Korean player, hey, I don't want you to take that bottom left-hand corner. I'm going to actually stake my claim in it. I'm going to plant my feet in the ground, and then I'm going to extend out. While he's doing that, he's also being somewhat of a nuisance to the overall left side. And he's telling the Korean player, you know what? I don't want you to take the whole piece. I know that I have this whole top portion right here, as well as this bottom right. That is my territory. I am defending myself. I am planting my foot down on the base, and then I'm extending it. It's the mana ring. Yes. And so what's happening is that the Korean player understands this. He's going to try to break through. Now, yes, Daniel is taking territory right now towards the edges of the base. However, that doesn't mean that he's going to win the game. Like I said, at the very end, when we count up territories and capture pieces, the person with the most territory and pieces together is the victor. So in the initial stages, if you're not claiming a strong enough territory, that's okay. But if the Korean player is able to take over this whole entire center region, chances are he may tie with Daniel and potentially win the match. And so what we see right here is the Korean player is building a very strong foundation right here. Now Daniel sees this and he's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to try to build more strength down here as well as up here, just to prevent the Korean player from overtaking, surrounding, and then capturing those black stones. Okay, and so that's in essence what we are doing right now. Whew. Any questions, guys? But with that being said, now Daniel is going to Tanuki out of there. He's like, you know what? You can keep extending the wall as much as you want. I already have a strong foothold on the left side of the board. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start strengthening my northern territory right here. So again, with the capturing of pieces, as you can see right here, Daniel's starting to surround. So if Daniel is able to get 2 more black stones right here, he's going to capture that singular piece, that white stone right there. And so the Korean player understands this. He doesn't want Daniel to put him in an Atari position. Atari just means you have 1 lifeline left before the stone is captured. And so what the Korean player is going to do is going to protect himself by playing a cross-cut pattern. Okay? Correct. Full surrounding does capture the overall stones. And Tanuki, for those of you who are brand new, Tanuki, I'm also streaming this by the way. The Tanuki is when you play elsewhere on the board, trying to gain influence, trying to gain advantage outside of the match itself. So that's essentially what's going on right now. So Daniel and the Korean player are pretty much fighting over this bottom corner. And, you know, you can see that the Korean player really wants to try to get this position right here. He's going to use these stones to help solidify a stronger south territorial position. And Daniel sees that. He's like, you know what? I already have a wall right here. I'm going to start building a wall right here. And then eventually I'm going to encompass this whole entire territory so that the Korean player does not get that many points towards the end of the match. Again, Daniel's like, you know what? Hey, I already got this territory. If you're going to try to invade me, I'm going to keep expanding. I'm going to keep fortifying this wall so that you are no longer going to be stuck in this area. Okay? And so the Korean player sees that. He's going to start extending out, and he's going to grab as many territories as he can in this region. He really wants that, and Daniel sees that. He's going to extend out. He's going to keep extending until the Korean player is essentially going to give up. But Daniel has to do something very quickly, because this white stone right here is going to play a huge role if they keep extending out. And so Daniel sees this. Daniel knows that if he plays a black stone right here, the Korean player does have an advantage of having an extra stone surrounding these 4 stones potentially. So rather than playing right here where you are attaching or pretty much in direct conflict with the stone at K4, he decides to move elsewhere outside. Right now, you can see that the Korean player can pretty much box in these 4 stones right here. He has the wall on the right-hand side. He has the wall on the south side. And so if he just plays on the top right here, 3 stones on the top or somewhere closer to the top, you can see that this whole group of 4 stones is going to get enclosed. And so he doesn't want that to happen. So hence why he extended outwards in hopes that if the wall starts coming down and starting to capture these 4 stones, he has an escape route. Okay, so this is mainly a play for an escape route. And so now the white player is going to Tanuki out again and start messing around with Daniel's overall territorial gain. Again, you're trying to shrink your opponent's territory so that you can win in the end game. The more territories you take, the more territories you claim, the more that you're able to agitate your opponent to shrink him out of it, the better off you'll be. Okay. And so what we see right here is that Daniel sees, okay, well, you're going to start poking and prodding. You know what? I'm going to start defending my stones right here. A lot of my stones are very close together. They're very easily reinforced. They're not going to go away and run away anytime soon. So we have the perfect opportunity to start strengthening, building influence, and potentially eventually going towards the center of the board and gaining influence in the middle. Okay, and so that's essentially what these two stones here are allowing Daniel to do. It not only does it provide an escape route for these three stones, but it also starts building that influence in the center of the board right here. And so with that, if Daniel is able to see further into the game, which I'm pretty sure he is because he's at a much higher level than me, he probably knows this, that the mid game or the end game might be a huge conflict inside the center of the map. And so, right, exactly what I'm saying. So he's going to start building more influences around these areas, around the center, so that the Korean player doesn't get this whole entire territory. You can see the Korean player is pretty much squeezing Daniel to the edges of the map while maintaining a vacant middle. Okay. And so as Daniel sees this, you know what, he says, okay, well, if the Korean player is going to invade into my horse head, this is a very common shape that we call the horse head move. Daniel knows that he can easily block any extension. Anywhere that these two stones go, Daniel can easily block by playing out here later on in the game. So even if the Korean player decides to extend up, Daniel can play here and pretty much capture these two stones. But the Korean player knows some of the weaknesses of a horse head move, so he's going to pretty much go out Hane, not really Hane, but go out here to threaten that stone. Okay, and so Daniel knows that this stone can potentially be under Atari, which is true. So hence why Daniel decided to form a Tiger's Mouth. Tiger's Mouth is very easily defendable. If somehow the opponent does play in this position, Daniel can easily play in this position right here, capturing this center stone. But with Daniel knowing that this is a self-Atari, does he want to risk going under a situation? No, he doesn't. So he decides to connect these stones together just to protect the possibility that the opponent will him and capture this stone right here. Okay. So you connect, and again, the reason why you want to do that is because the opponent does have two stones. So if he does right here, these stones are connected now. And it's going to be very hard to recapture that stone down there, or this stone up here. Okay. And so Daniel sees this and says, okay, well, you know what? I can see that you're building a lot of influence on the top right here. So, well, you know what? I'm going to start shrinking your territory down here. Right now, the Korean player does have a strong wall. He does have a strong wall right here. He might start forming down right there. So Daniel's going to try to block him in so that the Korean player's territorial extent doesn't go past this range. Again, he wants to prevent the Korean player from taking this area right there. Okay. And so that's what we're seeing. So now we're seeing somewhat more of a fight in the center right here. And you know what? Daniel's holding himself off pretty well. He does defend quite well, at least to my knowledge. Again, if you guys know of a better way to defend, let me know. But he's going to defend by doing a cross cut, and then the opposing player is going to Atari this stone right here, and then Daniel responds with a connection to prevent this stone from being captured because of the surround right here. Okay. Woo! What a match! What a match! So now, as we're continuing on right now, just a couple notes. If you guys are enjoying the cast right now, please let me know what is it that you guys are enjoying, and what is it that could be improved. At least since I'm starting out with the casting. Excuse me. This is something that I'm really passionate about, and I really want to share this with everyone. And I do understand I'm at a lower rank, and there's going to be a lot of things that I miss. So for those of you guys who are professional Go players or advanced Go players, please put in the comments below what you guys are also seeing, so that I can I can see. Yeah, this is actually really intense. So right now we have a lot of conflict. Going back to the match, we have a lot of conflict right now in the center of the board. Right now, Daniel's trying to break through this chain right here. He's trying to go through And the Korean player is like, you know what? You're not going to break through. We're not going to let you pass because we have strength in numbers. Yes, we might be more spread out, but you are moving very slowly. You are slowly connecting along the chains right here. So hence why we are going to expand. We're going to start spreading out and capturing majority of the middle. Okay. And so with that, you know, you gotta expand. You gotta gain influence. And speed is of the essence at this point. If you're not moving fast, if you're constantly moving one stone next to the other, the speed of which you're able to expand is going to be extremely slow. And Daniel understands this. Daniel says, you know what? I can keep expanding. I can try to expand out and really get something out of that. But I do understand that I'm moving very slow. So I'm going to do a one space skip. I'm going to try to extend as fast as I can. And if somehow the opponent does try to peep through the hole, which is exactly what the Korean player does, then I'm just going to connect right here in this point to prevent this stone from breaking through the wall. And so that's exactly what Daniel did. And so, you know, a lot of this, Daniel is moving here just to prevent the white stones here from going in any position. Correct. Adjacent play is much slower, but it's stronger. So it really depends. Do you want to have a slow and strong build, or do you want to go expand fast with some weaknesses in between? Okay. I should really put the chat up right here. So right now, everything is moving. Everything is moving super, super quickly. I got to catch up with what's going on. So right now, Daniel sees this. Daniel sees that there might be a possibility to break through the armor of the white player. And so what's happening is that Daniel's forming this crosscut. He's going to start dividing and disconnecting these central stones right here and potentially grab a surround. And so the opposing player sees this, and he's going to try to surround Daniel before Daniel can surround him. And so now we're in a surrounding race. Can Daniel break through and capture these central stones? Because if he cannot, those central stones may play a role later on, as Daniel's long chain of soldiers right here does not have a solid invulnerable space. And that invulnerable space is what we call an eye. You have to build an eye, double eye, to prevent the opposing player from capturing. And we can go through double eyes in a bit when it occurs. But the double eye pretty much opens up 2 free liberty spots. And remember, to capture an overall enemy's territory or enemy's units, they have to have 0 liberties left before you can capture. Okay. And so right now we're seeing a double surround. Exactly. We're seeing a double surround right here. We see Daniel surrounding that group of white stones, but we also see the Korean player surrounding Daniel's stones right here in the center. So these stones right here in the very center are in deep trouble. If Daniel's not able to save those stones, that whole entire plan of Daniel's might break. And again, this is what happens when we cross-cut and we try to move too quickly. It prevents you from having a strong fortification. It prevents it opens up the possibility of leakage through the armor. Okay, and that's exactly what the Korean player is doing. Again, these players are advanced players. They're at the Dawn level. Dan, yes, he's listed as 2K in this match, but he's actually a 3 Dawn level. And the Korean player, if this is not his only account, he's most likely at a higher level elsewhere as well. And so these are phenomenal players right now. But Daniel still looks like he has the upper hand. He still has this territory right here. He also still has this whole top territory over here, as well as this bottom territory. Versus the Korean player only has this territory right here and potentially this tiny territory. So in a territorial race with an even match, playing Chinese rules, Daniel is currently ahead in territorial space. And this is where Daniel wants to be. He wants to be either either 1 stone ahead or a huge leap ahead in terms of territorial count. And so right now, Daniel is in a winning position right now, having that initial opening game of capturing the territories on the edges of the map. Okay, and so the Korean player right now is trying desperately to close off Daniel's whole group right here. He's trying to build a solid foundation, a solid ground to capture. But unfortunately, if we look at this group of white stones right here, this group of white stones only has 2 liberties left. If Daniel's able to place stones here and here, he can capture these 6 stones without any hesitation. Now, granted, he is in a an Atari position where the player in white, the Korean player, can move his stone right here and capture that black stone. Okay. Oh man, this is a game, and you can also see that the Korean player is also surrounding these stones right here. He's going to try to break through the armor. If he tries to cut right here, albeit it's not a very smart move, you have to save that move for the very end, but if he's able to move right here and cut these 3 stones out, he may potentially break Daniel's northernmost boundary, northernmost territory. And so you can see right here that the Korean player is trying to do this surround and capturing these groups of stones down here, because as we know right now, Daniel, he only really has a potential of 1 eye right here. This is what we call an eye opening. Where a space is surrounded by the same colored stone, and the center space is not taken, leaving a liberty open. But because the Korean player played in this vicinity right here, this has now become a false eye. And the reason why is because if the Korean player plays on this end and this end, this stone right here is now up for capturing. And so this is no longer going to be known as a true eye. Okay. So Daniel sees this. He's going to try to defend. He's going to try to defend as best as he can, and do what he can to prevent the Korean player from breaking through. So he's going to be playing very cautiously at this point in the game. Now we're going towards the mid game. We still have a long ways to go before the game completes. I mean, we have a long way to go before the game completes. But Daniel is defending fairly well, and so right now, the Korean player, all he has to do is keep on pressing Daniel, trying to move in, invade Daniel's territory, shrink Daniel's territory out of the way before Daniel can do something where he pretty much puts the game in the bag because of the amount of territory he has gathered during the opening phases of the game. And so now what the Korean player is doing is still keeping that pressure on. He's going to start putting stones where Daniel has to defend. He's forced to defend by connecting the stones right here. So the Korean player is going to be playing a lot of, I believe it's what we call a sente. He's going to be playing a lot of forcing moves to prevent Daniel from taking the momentum away from the game itself. Okay. Whew. As I'm casting right now, I'm actually getting really animated, and I'm starting to sweat. Not only am I sweating, I'm also wearing a jacket, so that adds to the intensity of the match. All right. So now what we're seeing right now, gotta stay hydrated. Exactly. What we're seeing right now is that the Korean player is trying to break through. He's trying to break through. He captured one of Daniel's pieces with a capture. An Atari capture by threatening Dan to open up a liberty space. So if the Korean player is able to open up one more liberty space, one more eye, this whole entire central group might be defended. But unfortunately, Daniel is in such a great position where a forming of another eye is going to be incredibly difficult. Again, all Daniel has to do is prevent these stones and these stones from connecting with the main chain, because once you connect with the main chain, it's going to be a lot harder to break through one of the sides and break through the double eye formation. Okay, and so it's looking very grim for this white stones in the center. I think Daniel has got it. All Daniel has to do is connect on the sides over here, and this whole centerpiece will be Daniel's territory. And the Korean player sees this. He's going to try to cover the whole boundary right here. He's going to go in for the kill. He's going to try to box in Daniel, because Daniel also does not have 2 eyes himself. So not only does the Korean player not have 2 eyes in the center, Daniel doesn't have 2 eyes in the center. And what he's doing right now is he's going to try to box in, and Daniel sees this. He's going to try to extend. He's going to try to prevent the Korean player from surrounding him, but Daniel and the Korean player is just back and forth. They're going to be back and forth And Daniel sees this. He's like, you know what? I have more liberties than you. I'm going to play away. I'm going to try to play elsewhere and box in my back right here. You can try your best to try to capture me, but I know I'm going to survive. If I place a stone right here, this is what we call a double eye. If Daniel connects at this position right here, these two positions right here are going to be known as a double eye, because the opposing player cannot play in any of these two positions to capture this top piece. Okay. And so Daniel is in a great spot. He actually found a way to keep these two groups alive. I actually didn't see that until now. Awesome, Daniel. So now the Korean understands this. So he's going to be like, you know what? I'm going to try to get as much territory as I can. This right now, I'm in a disadvantage. Daniel has this whole top, as well as the sides, as well as this corner, right? These corners right here. And so the Korean player is like, you know what? I got to do something. I got to find a way to tie with Daniel. If I don't find a way, then he wins. So he's going to try to gather this middle section right here, as well as possibly this section down here, just to fully solidify that area, and maybe if he can, all the way down here. But right now it doesn't look well for the Korean player. Maybe if he tries to extend out this way, maybe he might take it, but who knows? But so Daniel sees this. Daniel sees that the Korean player might take this territory, and if the Korean player does take that territory right here, that puts this group in the top right hand corner at risk. And potentially, if Daniel doesn't defend properly in the top right hand corner, that whole entire quadrant of the board might go to the Korean player, and that might be the tiebreaker. Oh my gosh. Woo! What a match. What a match. And so the Korean player sees this. He's going to try to extend out. But right now he's so close to the edge. He's on the third line. And as you guys know, the closer you are to the edge, the harder it is to defend. Okay. Actually, let me rephrase that. The easier it is to defend, the harder it is to attack. But if Daniel has a good foothold in that area, he might be able to break through that. But we'll see. We just have to wait and see. Okay. Playing on the third line, fourth line is always a good idea for a lot of players, any players. Again, it's just to prevent the opposing player from having that big wiggle room to surround your stones and capture it. Okay, and so right now the Korean player is like, okay, now we're getting towards the mid to late game, late mid game to towards the end game. We gotta set our boundaries now. We're gonna place a stake in our claim. We're gonna try to win this match by gathering as much territory as we can. And so that's exactly what the Korean player is trying to do. He's trying to extend out. He's going to try to extend out here to get a little bit more of this area. Maybe he's going to try to cut here, which might not be a great move because Daniel can always respond with the defend. So I don't know the main point of this. Maybe to decrease the territory value of these black stones up here. Who knows? Again, if you guys are more advanced players, please list in the comments below what it is that they might be doing, or type it in the comment or the chat box. All right. This is an amazing game from Daniel. This is a truly an amazing game. And so what's happening right now is that Daniel knows that this group might be in trouble right here. This group might be in trouble. He's going to try to defend as best as he can. He's going to go for a connect. Exactly. He's going to go for the connect and go for that Atari move. Sorry, not Atari move. Go for that Liberty move right there, opening up an eye. As these stones right here are in danger of getting captured. All right. Now, why doesn't the opposing player take on these two spots to force the capture of this or force the move from Daniel? The reason why is because of liberties. He doesn't want to take up the extra 2 liberties. Because this whole entire chain is at risk because there is no open eye or double eye to protect it from being captured overall. Okay. Whew. Man, I'm sweating. All right, so we are getting towards the end game. We're getting closer and closer towards the end game. Daniel is moving. Daniel is going in for the blood. He's gonna capture. Exactly, he captures that stone, and he's gonna capture this stone. Casting is hard work. He's going to capture these 2 stones right here and to solidify this whole top region of the board right away. And so with that being said, it looks to me at this point in the game, Daniel has pretty much solidify a good portion of territory. Now, it doesn't mean that the other territories are open for Daniel right now. Yes, AI might calculate that this might be his, but if the Korean player decides to start invading in this territory right here and start shrinking Daniel's gap right here, if the Korean player decides to play along the blue line, this reduces the amount of territory that Daniel has. So Daniel still has a long way to go before calling this game quits right here, or calling this game a win in the bag. And so the Korean player understands this. He's going to try to shrink Daniel's group as best he can. And what happened? What's happening right here? This group of Daniels is in trouble. Right now, the Korean player, all he has to do is play 2 more stones right here to capture this, and he breaks through Daniel's northern defense. There's nothing that Daniel can do right now. Daniel's in trouble. Daniel, you're in trouble. So Daniel right now is currently in trouble. He understands this, and he's going to try to capture these 2 stones before the white captures this group right here. But unfortunately for Daniel, the Korean player just has to play right here, 1 more space to capture the whole group. And so the Korean player might have just managed to take the north. He just managed to take the whole top right here, this whole entire top. Like I said, anything can happen inside the game of Go, and this is an amazing game. This is a fantastic game, and I'm hoping you guys are enjoying this as a beginner caster, beginner player in Go, casting a pro level or a advanced level game. So, oh, what a game, what a game. And so right now Daniel understands this. He understands that he might have lost his group, and now he's behind territories, because look at what happened. Not only did the Korean player take this group up here, but the stones that the Korean player captures is going to add to his score as well as the territory. So it is worth double the points at this current stage in time. So the Korean player has that top corner, has this bottom corner as well, and potentially this corner right here, and potentially this little group in the corner, as well as the however many captured stones. And all Daniel has right now is this corner, this side, and that's it. That's all Daniel has. Daniel's actually now behind because of this big blunder in the north. So now Daniel has to find a way to break through the Koreans' chain, and this is what I'm talking about. If you are at a single-digit Q level or even a Dawn level, the game can flip at any time. For us double digits here, when we see this, we're like, oh, game over, we're done. But for a Dawn level player or for any advanced player, all the players are like, nope, this is what we're gonna do. And so we're going to flip the game. You might have the edge, but we can always come back, because the edge is, again, the territory. During the open stages, the game was very spread out. It was not close together. The stones were not adjacent to each other, allowing the opponents the opportunity to come in and invade. And that's exactly what the Korean player decided to do up here. Okay. And so right now we have a conflict right here. We have a Komi or a Ko situation right here. And, you know, the Korean player had to respond in kind. He captured that piece. I don't know what Daniel is thinking of doing right now. Right now, Daniel decides to solidify this top group. Daniel just solidified the top group, opening up 2 eyes. 2 eyes. So now Daniel has just flipped the game back. Daniel just flipped the game back. Originally, the Korean player was ahead, and now Daniel is now ahead again, because the Korean player can no longer capture this northern part of the map. There's no way for the Korean player to capture that group because of this 2i. This is an invincible formation. No matter, even if the Korean player decides to play here, he cannot play in the center whatsoever, because that is a suicidal move, and that is not allowed in the game of Go. And so Daniel, with a single move at A19 or M19, has flipped the game one more time into his favor. And so now the Korean player is drastically trying to find, is panicking at this point, trying to find more ways to gather territory. And I don't know if he can do it. Right now, Daniel's foothold is so strong. I mean, if the Korean player can find a way to capture this whole entire piece, maybe, But it's incredibly hard because all Daniel has to do is play a single stone right here, and this completes another eye. And so Daniel would have to find a way to capture this whole piece, but he can't. Oh, what I really think that a good move right here for the opposing player, for the cream player right here, is to play at M5, because that is the only additional eye this whole entire black group can make at this point in time. This is a vital move right here, but the cream player is most likely not going to play there, because if the cream player plays at M5, Daniel just has to play at L5 to disconnect that stone and eventually capture it. And so this position right here is a very important position for the cream player, at least in terms of this long chain right here. But now the battle is right here, and now Daniel's thirsting for blood. He's smelling it. He's like, you know what? You can try your best, but I'm gonna get this whole entire piece right here. You can try to create an eye. You can. It's not gonna work. No way. We're gonna take it. We're gonna take it. And so Daniel sees this. He plays right here, forcing the cream player to connect, and now these stones are officially dead. There's nothing that the cream player can do to form two eyes. If he tries to play right here, he forms one eye, but Daniel can just come in here and invade, and this whole entire chain of groups right here is now gone. Gone. And so now, with that, Daniel has solidified his position in the top right-hand corner. I don't think there's anything that the cream player can do. If anything, even this group is dead right here. This group right here is also dead because they only have 1-2 Liberty spots left. So Daniel has successfully gathered the whole top right-hand quadrant. At this point, from my position, from my understanding of the game, at this point, if I was the cream player, I would resign. Daniel has already gotten a hold of this whole entire quadrant right here. He's already surviving in this middle portion of the game, and right now, this is a Chinese rule game. So Daniel is already solidifying here. He's already solidifying in this whole region up here. He's also solidified himself right here in this position, as well as this bottom position. I mean, I don't know what else the cream player can do. The cream player has this position, yeah, and maybe this, and a little bit of that up there, right? And this middle is still anyone's game. The center of the board, the center of the map, is still anybody's game. But I don't know. I'm pretty sure if I was the cream player, I would have resigned already. Especially now that I know this whole entire quadrant up here is pretty much taken by Daniel. I would most likely resign at this point. I'm trying to erase, guys. Don't mind me. There we go. All right. And so that's what's happening. Wow. What a game. What a game. All right. So now the Korean player is going to try to do it the best he can. I don't know. Can he come back from this game again? Guys, if you guys are better than me, write in the comments below. Do you guys think that the one Don player playing against Daniel has a chance at this point of the game? I don't see it anymore. I don't see it. I think Daniel has already solidified this win. And so, oh man, what a game. That comeback, this northern comeback up here, this comeback was an amazing comeback. I'm just going to say that was a fantastic move that Daniel did. This move at M19, I think, was what solidified his win. Wow. And so as you're playing in the game of Go, at least from my own experience, when you're playing in the game of Go, casting is one thing, but actually paying attention to everything that's happening on the board and, you know, trying to defend your stones, being distracted by all that is another. And so in the heat of the battle, in the heat of the moment, we're always going to make mistakes. We're not an artificial computer where we never, ever make a mistake. We humans do make mistakes, and this is where the best games come out of. It's an amazing game. And so Daniel's right now we're heading towards the end game. We're just solidifying distribution points right here. Daniel most likely will play at E6 later on, just to extend his boundary by another point. He'll probably spawn right here by R1 to solidify this point right here. And then the connect will happen probably down here from the opposing player. Okay. And so towards the end game, all you want to do is pretty much set your boundary, protect your stones, make sure they're not going to get captured, take any neutral positions that you can, so that you have the most points at the end of the game. And so we are heading towards the very, very end. All we're doing right now is filling out the disconnects, connecting chains together, and neutral spots right here. There's a lot of neutral spots in the center right here. There's 4 of them, which could be filled out by each player, as well as these positions down here. And so, wow, what a game. Woo! Daniel, this was an amazing game. This was I thoroughly enjoyed this game. I hope you guys have enjoyed it as much as I have, because I have adrenaline right now. This had me going. And so, oh man. And so right now, the Korean player has to connect. The Korean player has to connect right here. Otherwise, Daniel's going to capture these 4 stones. But knowing that, he decides to connect right here, because no matter where Daniel plays, the Korean player can just play on the opposing area and then protect this whole entire region. So that was probably the better move, because if he didn't connect, then the Korean player had to have played somewhere to protect that. But I honestly, I probably would have played at least the white stone right here rather than filling this in with a connect. But then that's just my opinion. That's probably what I would have done, just to gain that extra point in the center right here, to be my territory. So okay. Whew, man. So now just filling out the boundaries right here. These 3 stones and this single stone is pretty much the Korean player's capture. Towards the end game, there's nothing that Daniel can do on these 2 sides right here to prevent a capture. And so those will be the Korean player's points. The Korean player now is just taking any neutral points right here. Daniel's going to take right here, and the Korean player is going to take right here, right next to it, to prevent Daniel from expanding out any further, as well as creating an eye. Yep. And so this, my friends, has been an amazing game. I know I said that quite often, but we're only a couple of moves short before the end of the game. So okay. Wow, what a game. So right here, again, just filling out the neutral spots. Daniel's most likely going to play right here to prevent the Korean player from expanding any further. Let me see. Where does he play? Oh, he plays down here. Oh, why does he play down there? Does he see something that we do not? He might see something that we do not. Oh, Daniel sees that these chains right here were disconnected. So he played a cutting move. And no matter which direction he plays, he's going to come in and cut off the boundaries here. Yeah, the Korean player can take this stone right down here. But Daniel, no way. You found a way to break through. And then Daniel's move before the resignation of the white player is right here to capture these 3 stones. And that is it. Daniel wins by resignation from the Korean player. And this is game, set, and match. So guys, I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you guys really did like those casts, let me know. I'll do some more of advanced games. And I hope that you guys enjoyed it from my point of view. Again, I'm a double digits Q player. I'm nowhere a professional. Huge disclaimer, I'm not a professional, but I do enjoy commentating and sharing the love of Go that I have. And so thank you guys for watching. If you guys want to check out my old videos, old commentaries for past games, and I hope that this kind of gets you guys interested in coming into our world of Go strategic ancient Go board games. So anyways, until next time, see you guys in the next video.